Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the podcast. I'm your co-host M2 Dave, and I'm here with my co-hosts Crimson, Rio, and Tom Brady. And today, I'm very, very excited about our guest. It is none other than the original in the modern era, the Shang Tsung Master, the Sinestro Master, and the Shinnok Master, Wound Cowboy. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Hi, Dave.
It's
Thank you.
Wound Cowboy.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks.
Come on.
I apologize.
I heard a rumor that Cowboy is actually the one that made Dave quit his main.
The
No,
what?
no, no.
RoboCop the other week.
Katana?
Oh yeah, no, RoboCop. That's true.
No,
Like,
RoboCop,
yeah.
That matchup was
Yeah.
bad. But we'll
get
talk
that
about
shit
that.
out of here.
We'll talk about that later. As usual, I'm gonna start with a couple of comments. And first comment, also the fool of the week. Here we go. This comment is from Burrito Borges, aka King Jr. For the comment on the next week's podcast, Rio and Dave should be blown up for playing Shao Kahn on this podcast if you were given safe gapless forward 3-4. Fuck you. Okay? You want crazy
Ooh.
buffs?
Holy crap!
You want
dude.
crazy
Someone was
buffs?
drinking tonight. Someone had
No. He wants crazy buffs. He wants Shao Kahn to play like Jackie. And we're not going to allow... We don't want Jackie who does 40% mid-screen combos. So that's the fool of the week.
He already does 40%. What is this podcast?
Now let's get to the good comments. Here we go. Rick Gonzalez. Rio just told Dave everything about the Pro Series. If his next two questions were details on the Pro Series. Look, man, I'm looking at the community. Just want to make sure everybody's got the latest information. Then we have PJ Machine. Damn, lobbying the frequency of the uploads. Well, thank you, sir. Here's another one for you. Okay, that's going to be uploaded. With that said, let's talk about the first topic. We gotta talk about the guest. WoundCowboy, how you been, man? And how do you like MK11?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I've been doing good. I really like MK11. I mentioned this before, but yeah, it just seems to be a lot of negativity, which I guess is always the case for whatever the current game is, right? Like, we know when's Injustice 3 and then when's MK12. It's been going on 10 years. But yeah, I really enjoyed the game. Don't think it's perfect, but I do like it. That's what I'd say.
What do you think? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think
Go
about?
ahead.
Let me ask you some specifics, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I know you've been using Shang Tsung ever since
Of
it was
course.
released. What do you think the character stance? Be careful because you're gonna get blown up if you downplay on this podcast.
know.
We don't play around. Okay, go ahead.
Well, to be totally honest, I'm not totally sure. If you remember, well, you probably do, I was blown up pretty badly for my tier list or my matchup chart. But that was pre-Ultimate MK11. So things have changed since then. I definitely think some matchups have gotten better for him. But if he's like significantly better, it's hard to tell right now. I need to play matchups more. I will say, I don't think zoning is good in MK11 at all. And you and I talked about this. I think it's the weakest it's ever been in an NRS game, for sure. Just in general, zoners are not good. And really the game favors offense, which Shang's is okay, but it's just in my opinion, his offense is a watered-down version of what the best characters have. So yeah, I think he's okay. Definitely got a little bit better because of the patch. But I'd like to experiment a little bit more. I mean, what do you think?
I'm just gonna. I mean, you heard the guest, and you're the expert, so I want to always defer
Sure.
to you. But
Okay.
the way I see it is that with Shang Tsung, a lot of the matchups pre-customs, and I used to use the character.
Yeah.
Let's say we used to play Katana, right?
Sure.
So when you had the life lead, you could literally just outzone him. So the character was many aspects a joke, right? Like you could do enough damage up close and just kind of trade with any of his projectiles, and he had to come in, right? And that was a huge risk. So that was the case with Katana pre-patch, pre-customs, who beat him. Same thing with RoboCop, who definitely beat him.
Definitely, yes.
But now I feel like at least in those matchups, he doesn't get bullied. He doesn't get outzoned.
Right.
He doesn't get almost like
I
he
agree.
doesn't get So what do you? I mean, that does make a difference, don't you think?
Totally. I think those matchups went from probably losing to possibly winning. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge difference. He'll probably always lose to some characters like Geras. There's just no way. There's no move Shang Tsung has that's gonna make Geras an easier match. I don't think. Cetrion, arguable, probably still loses, but I think it was like 3-7 before, legit. It was terrible. But now, probably a little better. One match that didn't quite change as much as I thought it might is Sub-Zero. Mainly because Sub can always have the slide now, which is really, really good against Shang. And then, I mean, the parry, you're throwing it out on a read, right? If he's going to do Ice Ball. And if he doesn't, I mean, it's an easy slide punish. So, yeah, I think that match didn't change as much as I had hoped. Neither did Geras. But definitely, I would agree that Kitana and RoboCop got a lot better for sure, because that match felt impossible before. Oh.
Let's ask, before I comment, let's ask Tom. What's the variation that you would usually use in the Shang Tsung matchup as a Sub-Zero player?
You don't need to use the Ice Ball because you do have the slide. I would just stay with Rising Ice. You have the Air Axe to help with any of zoning that Shang has. You have the slide, so you have two ways to get around it. And if you hit him, you do 60%. So it's...
Yeah. Yeah. I think Sub's always going to do well in that match. He got a little better, but... Yeah, it's hard.
I just feel like against the very top tier, which are some of the characters that we mentioned the last time, and just to kind of transition into what the community voted. So there was a poll that I created on Test Your Might, and the community on their website voted. We have Jackie as number one with 39 votes. So we have around like more than 60 votes so far. So we have Jackie as number one with 39 votes. Then we have Cetrion as number two. And then I believe it is Liu Kang with 32. Thank you, Crimson. And then we have, I believe it is Joker with 30 votes. And I don't know who the fifth is. I have to do some...
I think the next one was not close.
Yeah, it was the fifth.
Kotal.
It was probably Kotal.
Kotal and Fujin are tied at 4.
Oh yeah, so yeah,
Fujin is criminally underrated.
Yeah, Fujin.
I know everybody's talking about Cabal. I know everyone's talking about Cabal and Noob right now being like super low key broke. But how are people not talking about Fujin? That character he was already top tier before, but now he's just flat out better. So I don't get how he's not on people's radar.
Can you talk about like Rio, like as the character generally? Then we'll have Cabo respond how that affects the Shang matchup.
Dave, he does everything.
Yeah,
like the character is a threat from anywhere. He's got amazing neutral.
Yes,
really good footsies. He's got all these buttons and attacks that come from all kinds of directions that you have to like. When you play against him, you're scared to move, and that allows him to utilize his movement, his mobility. He can literally confirm off any hit off anywhere. If he does 4-3 slide, you happen to throw a projectile or do a mid that he goes under, you're getting full comboed. If you block any of these attacks, he can go into Skywalk and do a bunch of mind games on block. Like he's limitless. He's super good. I don't see how people don't see him as a top tier character.
Yeah, I think I don't understand what he's missing. I think the main thing is he's takes a little bit more thought to play than like some other characters like Liu Kang.
He's hard to use. That's probably the main thing. He's hard to use. He's not easy to pick up and play.
Right.
So a lot of people aren't going to like flock to him like that.
Yeah.
But he's such a good character.
So most people aren't good with him, but the people who are, it's absurd. Who
do you think is super strong with the character with Fujin?
I know of two of them who are really strong. Hayate, obviously, and Leon. He's a
Ninja Killer
Canadian player. I haven't seen. I'm sure he is. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Imagine Ninja's Liu Kang movement, but playing Fujin.
Right. Yeah.
I think in a few months from now, once people start getting better at this version of the game, we're going to see a few more Fujin players.
Yeah, I could see that. Character has, in my opinion, no weaknesses. He can anti-air just fine, too.
And he does combos off everything.
Yeah.
And he has restands in the corner into strike throw mix.
One thing that kind of stands is, maybe not the right word, but almost cheap, really, is the back to the...
God.
That one into the launcher and mid-screen, that seems pretty absurd.
Just like you play against him, 4-2 and 4-3, you're not going to react to those in neutral. Nope. Coupled with his movement, him being able to jump, him being able to do all these options. Like when I say you play against him and you're scared to move, you're going to block a lot, you're going to be doing a lot of blocking against them unless you want to get full combo.
Yeah, he can touch you from any part of the screen.
Yeah, and not like just little hits. Hits that go into combos.
Yeah.
So
I
talk
mean,
about that. Talk
mhm.
about that matchup as it applies to Shank and
It's
Cowboy.
horrible. Absolutely horrible. He can
You have
punish
no
Sparks.
options, right?
He can. I mean, I don't know what you do, to be honest. Like, he can punish Sparks with a full combo with back two.
Oh, I mean, a flawless block.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
which high
that's-
level players are going to do
Mhm.
pretty consistently, right? Anyway, so
No, they do it consistently. They do
yeah,
it
I
consistently.
understand.
And so think about that. I mean, it has like the same range as Sparks, except his is safe and confirmable into a combo, where Sparks get you punished. So there's that. And then he slides. You can slide through Sparks. He can slide through the projectile. He can slide through Corpse Drop. So that's another neutral option. He very good at anti-airing Shang's jump kick, which is one of the best in the game. And then his buttons are just so much better up close. Like, it feels really, really bad. I don't understand what Shang's supposed to do in that match.
Well, another character I know I was ranting when Rio educated me, and then I really called Tom the next morning.
Okay.
Was Liu Kang. I just don't understand why a 9-frame mid attack is tick throws into a command grab, in which the regular version you can choose sides. I mean, that already took. That's Kodokan. It took him a year to just get the side switch on the meter burn one. But this is a character who's not even a grappler gets to have that. I just couldn't believe it. I was just shocked for like an hour. I was like, Rio, what's wrong? And Rio was asking me, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I just can't believe this stuff. It's so effective. And then that string also leaves you standing. So it's the back 1, 2, 4, if not mistaken. Which
back 1 to 4 into bike kick leaves you.
Yeah, and then also that builds the crushing blow, right, for the last hit for the bicycle kick.
Yeah.
I mean that, and also he has another character who can punish the flawless blocked ground eruption, right? Anywhere on the screen, if I'm not mistaken. So that matchup again must be horrible for Shang Tsung, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Liu Kang, I think, absolutely destroys him. I don't. Again, it's the type of thing where I don't understand what he does in Wootsies, because he just gets punished for everything. Yeah, this is a larger conversation. I don't know where you guys stand on it, but I think overall the patch didn't. It might have made 1 or 2 characters become top or on the radar, but for the most part, the best characters are still just the best characters. Like Liu Kang's toolset is just perfect for MK11. It always will be.
It almost feels like the top tiers, like Jackie, Liu Kang, Cetron, Fujin, Joker, etc. Like the top tiers benefited the most from this patch, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it's because their core toolkit is so good, and then they have these added custom moves to add on to it. It makes them even better than they were before.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, Joker's the same way. He's one of the best at playing MK11, and he just now has more tools at his disposal.
Yeah, but it's not to say that other characters didn't improve.
Right.
Like Hodel, Kano, Sub-Zero, Spawn, Scorpion, Noob. So many characters they improved a ton through customs.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that the mid tier didn't get closer to the top tier after this patch.
Definitely.
If you're playing Noob or Kodal or those characters, or we're not even going to mention Kano, but
yeah, they're night and day difference from before.
Yeah, there are a lot of characters that were basically in a slightly different league before that now at least can say they can compete with the top tier.
Right.
Even Shiva.
Right.
Yeah,
she's broke.
But I would argue that it made certain characters worse though. And I will let me tell you. Kitana is definitely worse. Kitana is definitely worse.
To be fair though, with Kitana it's so weird because her character community asked for her best version last patch to get nerfed. They wanted the Highborn fans to get nerfed, so they kind of got their wish.
No, that's true.
I don't know why they would want that, but they.
I'm not arguing with that point. I think you're 100% right, but just the fact that happened. We're talking about characters who play MK11. She played MK11, and
yeah, that's why I was very puzzled as to why they were wanting her best move to get nerfed, because then that would make it overall.
They wanted to do combos, but everybody who understands MK11 understands that grounded combo is a lot more powerful than grounded combo that actually leaves you at a. Look, man, I'm not better than Cowboy, nor will I ever be. But even I beat him with freaking Kitana pre-patch, just doing razors. He couldn't do anything and just zoning it out. It was so simple.
Well, Katana was pretty dumb before in a lot of
And I
matchups.
also
You
beat
kind of had to
and I
hold her
also
chip
beat it
and
with RoboCop, which is another character who got worse. 100% worse. Now you literally can't zone like half the cast because they're gonna equip anti-zoning moves, whether it's a teleport, absorption, reflect, etc., etc. Nothing. It just doesn't work. And so people would argue Shao Kahn to King Junior's, to respect King Junior's opinion. He didn't really get much that better either, even though he's not a zoning character. I think those three, maybe Devora. I don't know much about her. I'll defer to the experts like Honeybee, but I don't see how those characters got better in any way, shape, or form.
Well, what was wrong with
it's
Devora?
more of so them having lacking customs. Like Shao Kahn doesn't really have any crazy, ridiculous customs
Right.
like other characters got.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know much about Devora. If any of you do,
I don't think Devora's bottom 5. I think she's good.
How is
I mean,
she? Yeah.
she may not be top tier, but she's definitely not bottom 5.
Great jump normal, good damage, really good footsies, good staggers. I don't see the problem.
She has one of the better Oki games too with
Right.
Sakurai.
again, I might be wrong about her. I'm just kind of like talking about the characters that kind of already on the lower.
You're asking us like on a bottom 5, like who we think?
Yeah,
Bottom
well,
five?
that's the kind of.
Well, I don't.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what if you don't mind. That's kind of like so. Last time we talked about a lot of like the best characters, the most improved. So this time I'm gonna ask everybody to talk about their bottom 5. You don't have to mention necessarily 5 characters, but try to mention at least like 3 or 4 who you think characters like. You know what? These characters may need help. And try to like think about that as we go. So Rio, let's get started with you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't have a bottom 5. I think it's too early, at least for me, to see what they are. But I can tell you the 5 character communities that have been kind of complaining the most and going like, "What the hell? Where's our stuff?" You know. And I think those 5 character communities would be Shao Kahn, Katana, Melina, RoboCop, and Sonya. Now, I don't agree that some of these are bottom 5, but from what I've seen, these 5 characters, their communities have been pretty vocal saying that they're lacking this.
Melina,
patch.
really?
They're not that good. Yeah,
Huh.
I've been seeing so much Melina, issues that
Interesting.
they've been saying.
It's,
But yeah, Katana, Melina, RoboCop, Sonya, and Shao Kahn. Those are the 5 characters I've mainly seen people complaining about.
Tom, what do you think? Possibly 3, 4 bottom characters who may need help.
I think he's in the middle of his Wilson rip.
He's dead.
Tom, you there?
My mic is muted. I'm sorry.
Remember,
My mic. So listen, here's my problem. I agree with everything Rio just said with those characters. RoboCop, Katana, Melina, Sonya, so on and so forth. There's a couple of things. Sonya's best buff is she got the Bridget Wilson skin. And then
That's kind
That's
of
pretty good.
and then
buff.
here's the worst part about it. The move that Bridget Wilson used in the movie isn't even in the game. Crimson
Rip.
Shadow will shill and say, "Well, I just think they figured
Oh my
why is it-
God!
why is it-
oh my
Hold on.
god.
Crimson Shadow says, well, I guess
Shilling.
they woke up one day and say, why is a military general going to do a leg grab any more than a fucking actor is going to do a shadow kick? I mean, it's whatever.
Tom, I promise I will give you the chance to
Yeah,
continue.
my point is like
We will definitely talk about this topic. We'll definitely do it.
I feel like RoboCop is a thing that's kind of whatever. So you got a lot of characters like Liu Kang. He's like an up close character, for example, right? And his up close game gets augmented. I feel like every character in the game who's meant to do X, Y, Z, if your character's core is meant to poke, the stagger, strike, throw, oppressive offense, you're stay the same or you got a lot better. If your goal is to do the opposite of that, NetherRealm said, you're just not allowed to do that because it's annoying for today's players. And the RoboCop example is the thing. While yes, I enjoy MK11, I think it's great. A character like RoboCop is simply where he is, not because of his skills, not because the moves are bad. They just simply don't allow those moves to be better than they are for convenience for those born in the year 2000. That is. There is no chance of RoboCop ever being good. Like, there's no chance. That's what's so disheartening. There's no chance. He's built to be a zoner. He will always be the worst in this game.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on what Cowboy said earlier. I don't necessarily think that zoning's bad in this game. I just feel like if you're a character that relies heavily on
Yeah.
zoning, you're going to have an issue because For characters, having a zoning tool is good rather than not. But if you purely rely on zoning, you're gonna have an issue because if you take a look at characters like Liu Kang, Jackie, they have these added zoning tools or fireballs that make them way better. But they don't just rely on that because they have so many more tools.
Exactly.
So if you're a character like RoboCop that needs to do zoning, then you're gonna be struggling.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I feel like. How do I preface this? I enjoy Mortal Kombat. I hate to have to do a disclaimer because if you give any kind of constructive criticism, they're like, "What? What do you mean?" I enjoy it quite a bit. I'm going to continue to play it. I'm going to continue to support it. It's a fun game. I think it's a good game. I think it's a game that shows there's a high level element in which you can consistently beat the lesser player. So for all those comments about random this or random that or broke this, broke that, I don't agree with any of that. However, I do feel like if they made a game in which players said, well, you can't do that to me if you couldn't zone me. You couldn't do that to me if you couldn't just waste the clock out and run away from me. I feel like Ed Boon said, you know what? Why should you be able to zone and play a fighting game? I feel like we use the word adapt a lot. I don't feel like playing Mortal Kombat. Now, sure, you have to adapt to what your opponent is doing. But as far as a fighting game goes, Mortal Kombat 11 is not about adapting. It's about conforming. It's about conforming to how the game is and then whatever. I feel like it's about if you don't like fighting against these types of characters, you don't need to adapt to them anymore. We just won't ever put them back in the game. The Mortal Kombat players think Zangief having a mid-command grab is dumb because they think Kotal Khan shouldn't have a mid-command grab. Meanwhile, command grab characters, command grabs are mids in every game. It's just, I don't know.
Carl, what do you
I don't
think?
know.
Like about Thomas, but also your verse, like just like the aspect of zoning, and does that translate to your bottom 5 characters, if you will?
Yeah, definitely. I think like every character, in my opinion, that's like really good in this game is good because of offense. Even the character that people often cite, like Cetron, she zones. Not really. I don't think her zoning is very good at all, honestly. What makes her good is her offense because she just has so many layers with it. So yeah, I think every single character in this game that's good is offensive based, which I think is kind of annoying because usually you like to see a mix. Like there'll be some good zoners that are top, which was the case in past games, and there'll be some offensive characters. But to me, it's all offensive characters, every single one. Like it doesn't matter. Top 5 might be debatable, but pretty much all the people in the running are based on offense, in my opinion.
I think if we're honest though,
Crimson, as an anti-zoning zealot, what do you have to say?
oh my god,
Oh my
this
gosh,
guy, get him
Crab,
out of
he's
here.
loaded, Crab. Load up to the
Get him out.
eyeball tonight, boys.
All right, here's my question: If this is true, like if we take all the characters that were able to compete with the top tier,
Right.
in past NRS games, and we make the zoning good, not broke, are they still top tier?
Well,
I'm gonna
that's
say no
loaded,
in a
man.
number of cases. I'm gonna say the reason that they were able to compete with the top tier in a lot of cases wasn't because their zoning was good. It was because it was ridiculous. I mean, do we need to talk about Kenshi, Freddy, Zod, like all the characters?
To be fair though, Crimson, those 3 characters you just mentioned, Kenshi, Freddy, whatever, they were also ridiculous up close.
They were, but I mean, would they have been as good as they were if their zoning wasn't ridiculous?
Some of us found a way to fight those characters, Crab.
No, they wouldn't have been because their zoning was
wouldn't have
broken,
been.
but they also had ridiculous offense.
Right.
But their zoning was absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always the combination of both. For most of
Those
the top tier
characters were
characters.
par for the course for what existed in fighting games for a long time.
Like Zod was Zod not just because of zoning, but because also he gets trait and then you
Well,
can't move.
I think Zod was like one of the broken exceptions. I'm thinking in Injustice 2, like Dr. Fate, who I think was a balanced zoner. I'm sure many people would disagree. And then you have like Starfire, who's probably a bit too good, for her own sake. But those are, I think, the characters we should make comparisons to. Freddy was an
Yeah, but those characters also had good stuff up close. Like
I know,
Dr. Fate had.
but that's what people like Crimson don't understand. Like all the zoners have good up close stuff. Otherwise, you're in just as one cyborg. Obviously, everybody
Right.
knows. Yeah, it's super obvious. It's just like with Sinestro, right? He was great from far away in certain matchups. Yet when he gets straight, he can do the.
That was amazing.
It
Loved
was,
it.
it was amazing. So this argument that Crimson are making is 100% fake. That's it. That's an argument again.
Well, no, not really, because what he's touching on is a lot of the past like zoning characters that happen to be top tier. They had exceptional zoning, but then they also had other good
I know
tools that allowed them to be
the
up there.
characters right now who have exceptional rushdown and have good zoning tools too,
Right.
or teleport.
Yeah, it's kind
King.
of like the opposite. Like
Yeah.
right now, there's like superb rushdown characters that also have good zoning.
Right.
Right. There's like superb
So
zoners with good
Jackie,
rushdown moves.
instead of having a save dash punch, now has dot projectiles. Why?
She has Aaron Black acid.
So
She covers
that's a
the screen.
character like who can jump on you from full screen away, who can mid screen do pretty much safe projectiles, and who demolishes you up close. That's balanced to you?
Well, so here's the question: then, is would you give the zoners better zoning, or would you give them other tools to complement the zoning to make them more well-rounded?
So you could go
In
either way.
MK11,
You could go either way.
yeah, because I feel like. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think you could have. I mean, this is obviously retrospect, but I think you could have made Zod balanced. Like you could have you could have just nerfed the obvious things, and he still would have been a good character. So I don't. So yeah, I mean, sure he was broke, but you could balance it. And MK11, I mean, yeah, you could go either way. Like I just taking. I mean, I know Shang Best obviously since he's my main. Taking him as an example, like I think it'd probably be better just to have him have better offense. Because I don't think there would be too much of a redesign of the game to like drastically buff zoning. I don't think that would work.
Yeah, even Katana, right? Like part of the reason why, we're saying she's not that great is because when you get hit by her, you're just kind of like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Same with
You
Shang.
know?
He doesn't do damage.
right. So yeah, that's why I wonder if maybe the zoning isn't really the issue. Maybe it's everything else that goes around it.
Well, I would agree with you 100%. When I think about, I think RoboCop zoning for what it is, aside from not having like a move that beats something like a Shake or Jade, shadows, he pretty much does everything, really. Like the low auto does everything. But his offense, his up close game is so bad, he literally loses turn every single time and surrender to characters like Jackie and Fujin. It doesn't really matter what you do. I mean, unless you have like extremely broken zoning,
Right.
he needs better like offensive tools. Same thing with Kitana.
Okay, let me. Okay, I can answer your question, Krem, very easily.
Go ahead.
Yes, Krem, you're right. The zoning in those games was extremely oppressive, right? I mean, even Dave is going to say, yeah, for sure, the zoning was oppressive, right? And he used Freddy, right? You agree with that, right? Rio used Cabal, the zoning was oppressive.
Yeah, 100% it was ridiculous.
We all know, and they had tools they could use up close. We all know that. Here's the problem. We don't say you got to adapt to that oppressive zoning, but we always love to defend oppressive offense. Nothing is wrong with oppressive offense. CrimsonShadow, again, he doesn't say anything like, do you think players today, if their offense was a little more toned down, do you think they would? But he'll come for the zoning.
Is that true? I don't think that's true at all. Because if you look at the most complained about characters in this game, like the characters people rage about, where they're like, please take this character out of the game, it's freaking Jackie, who can't even zone.
Yeah, people complain about it.
And then it was Liu Kang, but no one complained about Liu Kang's zoning. I mean, some people do, like top level players, but the average player was complaining about his rush.
It's not about complaining. The thing is, when you have people want oppressive offense, and that's fine. The problem is they don't want the counterbalance to that, right? I mean, they're like, oh yeah, it's cool, man. We got it, man. You love your offense. That's okay. Yeah, adapt to it. Sure, I got to adapt to it. Everyone has to adapt to it. If there was,
I feel like NRS needs to get more creative with zoning, though.
If you look at
a lot of games,
you look at RoboCop's design, he was 100% designed to play a ranged game to make it tough for you to come in.
Yeah.
And I feel like they looked at him and they said, but I mean, it shouldn't be too hard for them to come in, right? Well, you can't do that. You can't design a character around making it hard for them to come in and then say, I mean, it can't be that hard, right? He can't defend himself.
Yeah. I Yeah.
I feel like NRS also needs to get more creative with zoning though, because usually in NRS games it's like, oh, what's zoning? Okay, throwing this fireball over and over and doing this move over and over.
No,
Like, they
Freddy
need
was
to
kind of creative.
think
with
outside
it.
the box. No, yeah, Freddy was I think the most creative zoning they ever did was Martian. Freddy was also up there, but those characters were broken for other completely different reasons, like Martian having a safe overhead launching teleport. But they need to like really think outside the box and make it so you have to do, like just create characters in a more dynamic way with zoning. They don't need to always
Shang
make it
was
so.
a little. Shang
Okay,
was
throw
kinda
this
weird
one
too,
projectile
right?
over
Like,
and over.
Shang was like.
No, yeah, Shang
And
Shang,
was
like
one
you
of
lay on
the
the ground,
more creative
and
zoners in
he's
MK9.
like,
He
I'll
was
tell you
cool.
what, man. Instead of doing poke to ground skull, I'm
Yeah.
gonna read. You're not gonna do a wake up attack, and I'm gonna do this this up skull, and now
Yeah.
I'm plus 100 million. It's kind of like,
Yeah, but I feel like they need to get more creative like that, because when it comes to offense, NRS gets creative with it. They have all these staggers, tick throws into whatever, all these like setups. But when it comes to zoning, it's
in
like,
reality,
okay,
this is
you have A, B, or C with zoning, but then with
when
offense,
you
you have all
hear
these
the horror
layers.
stories of MK9 also, what do you hear about? Oh my god, Cabal, dude, Freddy, Kenshi. We always hear about that.
Yeah, but
right?
all three of those characters, even though they were zoners, they had
We
super strong
don't
offensive
ever
different
hear
tools.
about. Nobody ever says MK9. Johnny Cage.
Yeah,
Sonya,
Johnny,
they
Sonya, Kung
always
Lao.
go to the zoning.
Well, I think it's mainly because of. All right, I think we actually just said it in the last 5 minutes, which is that you would expect that if a character has super oppressive zoning, right, that your reward happens when you get in.
Yeah.
Right? So you say, I'm going to be patient, I'm going to duck and walk and block and do all this, but when I get in, then let's go, it's party
Right.
time. And the problem was, you have characters like Kenshi where you get in and he's like,
Plus 8 armor
bad,
on
armor.
block.
Yeah.
And then you block and you have to get a 50-50.
Yeah,
Well, I think
Kenshi was an extreme example.
Yeah,
Or Freddy, you chase him to the corner, he does his EX Sweet Dreams, he's plus 30, you have to
Safe
block him.
teleport.
Well, fairness, but
Yeah.
the reason why
I mean-
Kenshi the way he was because when MK9 first came out, the MK community was new and they were like, how do we stop this?
Yeah, they need to get blow. They were like, Kenchi's free to jumping, just cross him, he's so bad.
I remember the first power up. I'm sitting there with Rio, and these Cage players are like, God, Noob's unbeatable.
Oh my god, they were crying about
Noob.
Noob. Cage.
Right? So then they were like, everybody has to have armor. How are you going to get in on someone like Noob? Or what?
Yeah, that was dumb. When they buffed Sonya and Cage's armor,
but
oh my
that's
god.
another part of the problem. Like, zoning is usually like the first thing that gets cut. Like, you're the first guy hired, you're the first guy to get fired, right? That's just how it is.
Let me give you an example. When MKX came out, I remember myself and Rio, when I went to the, Fatal 8, we had an early game, like, they gave me a copy, so we had the game like a couple of weeks early. And the game is like a week and a half away from being out. It's not even out yet. People that got the game are like the mom and pop shops. And Rio showed me on Twitter, the only character people were complaining about was Sub-Zero, right?
Mhm.
And then the first thing that got nerfed was the clone. And then I watched Raiden win the first major with a block infinite. And I was like, let me get this straight. Block infinite Raiden, Liu Kang has 5 block infinites, all this shit, right, is okay. But this move might keep you out? So it has to, I don't know. It's just, it's not even about clone, because I know people are going to be like, oh, the clone. It's about, in this game, if there was, when pre-MK11 Ultimate, just regular MK11 Aftermath, if they took Jackie and they said, we're also going to design the opposite of Jackie, right? However powerful her offense is, we're going to make an equally powerful runaway, zoner, keep away, whatever character, right? That character would be banned from the day it was out. Not a conversation of should we ban like Jackie. Automatic ban. NetherRealm would have patched that character of the next day. Hotfix. I mean, that's true.
Well, I think my issue with the game right now is that
I don't have an issue with the game. Let me just say that.
no,
I think
Tom,
it's very fun. I'm gonna
yeah, Tom,
continue to play.
yeah, me too. I like using the.
It's a good game. It's a fun game.
But the issue to me is that, personally, is the fact that you have these characters who are top tiers, and their zoning inexplicably is almost on par with the quote-unquote best zoning characters in the game. So when you're Shang Tsung, you fight Fujin, it's like, can't do anything. You know, even in, like, when I fight Shang Tsung like RoboCop, I can't do anything anymore. Like, he just does shake up like far away. He gets close, he has better offense.
Yep.
He has actually launchers. So what do? Like, I can't do anything. And I'm sure, like, probably you felt the same way. I'm sure you felt the same way, like, pre-patch. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, like, they clearly designed, like, zoning characters, like, and kind of the trade off was, their normals aren't as good. Like, Shang doesn't have a very great confirmable mid. Neither does RoboCop. And they did that, like, oh yeah, because the zoning's good. The problem is, it doesn't do anything. Like, it's always just better to have offense in this game. That the trade off isn't worth it. I think that's just a failure of the game because offense is top in this game. I think it always will be unless they drastically change it.
Well, this brings us.
I still feel like the lackluster of zoning design NRS needs to think about it because, I mean, come on, like seeing Deadshot walk back through a wrist shot over and over, is that really hyper fun?
No.
They need to get more creative with their zoning.
Nobody's arguing for that, or literally.
No, I just feel it, but I feel like a lot of characters in this game kind of fall into that line. Like, their zoning isn't really creative. It's just like you do one thing over and over, and maybe you mix it with a different zoning.
I mean, when you have
I feel like they have to go beyond that. They need to actually design zoning characters that have a lot to them. That have a lot of
this goes back to Tom's point, is the fact that you're allowed to have Jack, you can literally leap from full screen away and do 9-frame mids over and over again that are -2 on block and shimmy you. But
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, look, if you compared this Shang to MK9 Shang, wouldn't MK9 Shang be better against Jackie because he could choose all different versions of ground skill that go all the way up and you would have a better chance to anti-air? Like, things like that I feel like are better designed zoning-wise than what NRS has put in this game with a lot of characters. Like, some of the zoning is it's very repetitive, very straightforward, and there's not much depth around it. It's like almost what you see is what you get.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're going to make that comparison, like, Shang could do in the MK9 the thing that made offense good MK9, Shang could do. He was literally just on par with it. The poke pressure into chip. But in this game, his offense is just a watered down version of what the good characters have. It's like in MK9 he was on par, and this one he's just not. Because the zoning, it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like if NRS doesn't take the next step in designing like zoners with depth, they're gonna have to make zoners with good offense. Kind of like what Setron can do.
Yeah.
Setron's probably the best zoner. But then she's also amazingly good at footsies, neutral, and she has good buttons and mix-ups.
Yeah, she's more about footsies and offense to me. I've done better with her when I play her like that. Zoning can be in some matchups, but zoning is questionable sometimes.
Yeah, because the boulders are slow, and the guys, if the character has very good movement, kind of hard to.
Yeah,
kind of hard to.
You play her, and her movement's also very strong.
Oh yeah, her backdash. Backdash is one of the best in the game. Well, I think that's kind of goes back to the topic that Tom mentioned earlier. What do character archetypes, do they have any meaning at all in this game? Because to me, they honestly don't. I mean, it's like almost a joke, like to say that Setron is a zone. I know Crimson likes to say it, but that's a joke. Like, that to me is a complete joke because Setron is not really a zoner. She's just somebody who has some zoning tools. The reason she's good has nothing to do with zoning. It's the fact that she has the wall, which is one of the best footsie tools. It's plus
definitely.
She has great.
Well, she probably does have the best zoning in the game, but again, that's 30% of what makes her good.
I know, but again, it kind of goes to the point that Kava was making. It's all really about your offense. And honestly, she, because of the weird Oki system in the game, she is one of the best Oki tools because wall,
rock walls and
walk wall, if you just backdash and do wall, that's gonna make reversal attacks with. If you do the close wall, it's gonna catch the roll. So in some weird, I don't know, just weird gameplay design, she turns out to have some of the best corner pressure because of precisely that reason.
Yeah, that's her offense.
Speaking of wall, she's like a wall character. Like, she brings you to the corner, and it's so hard to get past her or to get her in the corner herself.
Yeah, and she's like has a teleport where she can kind of escape the corner pressure.
Oh yeah, that's really dumb. Having the teleport is like Ugh.
Crimson, what do you think about it? It seems like the game. I know you like to say that the game had like archetypes. I just don't see it, man. Like, it doesn't have archetypes. It favors characters like who can do kind of a little bit of everything. Mostly offense, a little bit of zoning, just enough to challenge the zoning characters, and the rest doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and I think I think they started leaning in that direction because that's what they thought people wanted, right? Everyone for years and years and years was complaining about matchups, right? Because think about it. Say you have a zoning character who has really good zoning, and then when you get in, you're at advantage, right? So that's going to be fine in some matchups. It's going to make some matchups maybe unbearable, like Zod type situations. But then also, that zoner, if you're playing against the counter zoner, and now you have terrible tools when they get in, it's going to suck for you. You're going to hate those matchups too, right? So those kind of archetypes are super polarizing. And I think initially the promise of the variation system for a lot of people was saying, well, I'm not going to have to deal with that. I no longer have to counterpick, or I don't have to switch because I can cover all the bases and I can choose how I want to play. And now the custom variation system is kind of like the extreme of that, right? You know, when it works well, is people saying, well, look, I have every situation covered. I have all the tools that I need. So, yeah, I think we have to ask people, you know, and maybe we can ask the viewers and stuff like too. But what do people really want? Do they want a game where the characters are wildly different from each other, but some matchups are terrible and you might just have to pick
And
another
just this
character?
one.
Right, exactly. Or do they want a game where every character has the flexibility to more or less do everything and it's more about, you know, like how does the match play out than losing the match at character select? Right? Like what do people actually want? I'm not sure we've made up our minds yet.
Yeah, archetypes are more. It's kind of hard to have like straight up archetypes when you have a game about customs.
I mean, Tom, you went on a rant earlier about the lack of legacy, the lack of archetypes. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when characters have certain moves that they're associated with, that they're known for. I mean, look, no character has to play the same. Ryu in Street Fighter is not the same character from game to game, even though he has the same moves and even the same normals, really, right? Still a different character. He plays different. A lot of fighting games are like this, right? Every game out there, even though characters have their signature moves, they change from game to game. They don't play the same. Some strategies are more effective, some are less from one game to the next, and you adjust with them. But, you know, the characters in some way still are themselves. Maybe who they are is molded toward one way or the other, but they still are who they are in some way. And then I feel like Mortal Kombat is kind of weird. Sonya was just, I was shocked by that because like she's whatever. Sub-Zero is another one that's really weird to me. Not that he shouldn't be offensive, but you have a game that has 3 variations. And I understand, you know, okay, that's cool, right? What's also weird is, this is ironic, Ed Boon, when he did his interview for, hey, here's the trailer for Mortal Kombat 11, and they're like, what is these 2 scorpions? What's going on? He's like, Mortal Kombat 11 is going to be a timeline game. This is a direct quote. I have it right in front of me. And you have like this scorpion here from the future, and then a past version of Scorpion. And they intentionally had the UMK3 Scorpion in there. Not only is previous timeline versions of characters not really in the game, the skin from the trailer isn't even in the game. I mean, like, it's just kind of weird. And then, like I said, Liu Kang feels like Liu Kang, right? That's you know, that's okay. Like we even did, Raiden is still kind of Raiden-esque in some ways. Some characters do feel like themselves, you know, and then there are some that don't. And it's just kind of weird. I feel like more of the defensive archetype, or even in between, like Sub-Zero wasn't offensive or defensive. He was, but they have a variation system. One variation could be more offensive, one could be more trapping, one could be whatever. I really feel like they made a variation system to be complex and then tried to simplify it as much as possible, which was kind of counterproductive. You know, Sonya, instead of giving her leg grab, kiss, cartwheel, all these moves, like 6 legacy moves, they said, just give her 6 versions of her ring toss and a drone. It's just, I don't know. I just, it's kind of weird to me. But even Noob, you know, like Noob, I don't know. Some of them, their moves aren't even in the game. Probably gone from Mortal Kombat history forever. It's just like, imagine Ryu's fireball was gone from Street Fighter forever.
Well, I mean that's a little different though, Tom. Because like,
Yeah, you can't really compare his fireball to his ice clone.
Not even a clone. He's got more moves than. It's not even about Sub-Zero. Sonya's leg grab. It's one of the staple moves of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, the leg grab thing is kind of a blow.
yeah,
It just, I don't know. It just baffles me how even some of the moves.
Well, sometimes with new games, developers want to design
Yeah.
characters in a different way.
Right.
You know? They
Of
don't want to
course.
always have Scorpion with a leg takedown, which is why he doesn't have it in this game.
Sure,
They kind of want to like envision them in a different way.
sure. I understand that.
I think it's fine to do that, but I don't want to see Sonya without a leg grab in every single MK game going forward. I think if they want to maybe bring it back in MK14, then I would be cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see like. No, I'm okay with them trying new things. This game, I understand they want it to be still offensive, but not MKX. I get it. I see the direction they were going, and that's fine. So a lot of these moves that, even like Puddle, like, of course, obviously it's in the game. They're not going to tone it. They're not going to balance it, quote unquote, or whatever. Because no matter how they did it, it would slow the pace of the game down. That's not what they're looking for. RoboCop is always going to be the worst fucking character in the game because you would just slow the game down, and they don't want that. And I understand all that. I get it. That's the direction of the game. They do their best to accommodate. Hey, I know you RoboCop players want to be able to zone the shit out of each other, but unfortunately, that's not the pacing we're looking for. RoboCop is just in the wrong game.
But Tom, you know what the irony is, and this is where I have to blow up Rio. He was showing me Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and he was showing me
My
how
God,
the
dude.
movement was so strong that you could actually keep up with just the normal moves itself. And I'm like, this kind of reminds me in some sense of Tekken in a certain way. And I wish you could play that style MK11. And I want
You can with some characters.
and I,
That's true.
and I want
The Alliance is a 3D game, though. It's not.
I understand it, but it's like when you can play better keep away in Tekken than in your 2D fighting game, that kind of beats the whole purpose of having a 2D fighting game. The whole point of 2D fighting games is you can throw a fireball. And the fireball doesn't matter to the extent that either everybody can do it, everybody can just easily get around it. What's the point of being a 2D fighting game? I've always asked myself, that question myself. And
Yeah, but there's 2D fighting games where you can't zone and it's mostly offense.
I know, but those, in my opinion, those games fail as 2D fighting games. Why would I play you? If I want to play something offensive, like up close, I would play a 3D fighting game because everything is up close. You have no access to, like full screen attacks. I think the game needs to do better as far as zoning is concerned. I know Crimson disagrees, but he thinks
See, Dave, the thing is, what you want, some characters do that. Like, you want to play keep it with normals, keep people out of, like, your arm's reach. You could play Cetron, you could play Frost. They do that to a lot of characters.
the problem is Setron. While Setron is good, those other characters who do that are not any good. And I'm washed up, but in my mind, I'm still a competitor. When I play, I want to win. I know Cowboy, Tom feel the same way. Who are about my age. So I still want to win, right? I know Cowboy, so do you,
Hell yeah.
and Tom, so do you.
I want to win. I just don't want to sit on, wait in front of a pool station for 3 hours.
No, no. I understand. That's kind of like my point is that the game just fails in the zoning and in the legacy aspect too, because I feel like this stuff would be unacceptable in any other fighting game. If you all of a sudden you made Ryu, you give Ryu a command throw, and like people would literally be laughing their asses off. Like they're like, why does Liu
Yeah,
Kang
but you can't. You're comparing apples to oranges,
Yeah.
Dave.
Like MK is
Yeah.
not a
Street
legacy
Fighter's
game.
legacy game.
Yeah.
MK's never.
It's
MK's never been legacy.
And
So wait,
That's
Dave.
true.
Who are you to say that which version of a character from any MK game should be legacy? Should it be Sonya from MK3? Should it be Sonya from MK1?
Yeah.
Should it be Sonya
Yeah.
from Armageddon?
The
Which one are you
answer-
talking
let me-
about? Because every version of the character are completely different.
any version of the character. If you wanna
Dave,
invent a new character, you know
Dave,
what?
none of the characters play the same from any MK
Rio,
game. They're all
you
different.
wanna-
Scorpion plays differently
Okay,
in
look,
every
what
single
baffles
MK
me
game.
is this. Look, I don't care. Look. If I was a fighting game designer, here's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't make a move with the intention of making sure the move could never be used. if we opened up customs, what is the purpose?
Tom, I told you the theory of what they're doing, man. So look, they didn't release customs at first because they needed time to balance it. So they did, they did presets variations. Then once they had time to balance it a bit, they released customs. Now they put some moves off on hold because they need more time to balance those moves before they enable them in customs. So I think the patch we're gonna get after the Pro Series 7 months from now is gonna introduce some of these banned moves, but balanced. That's what I think.
I
ML's
mean,
gonna do.
look, again, I'll say this. I don't really care about, whatever. The game is made how it is. It doesn't need to be made a certain way. I still enjoy it. But I'll say this. It's a bit, I don't want to say simple, but it's too simplistic.
Simple. I think you can say that.
If you're a player today, look, I get it. I mean, I'm the biggest hypocrite. I played some of the most whatever games ever. And I didn't care. I wanted to win. That's the fun of it. And I support all the players playing today. MK11 is still a high-level game in which there are very good players and they have success at the highest possible level because they are that good. But it's kind of like, how do I say this? It's kind of like if there was an apocalypse, right?
Uh-oh.
And you didn't know the world we lived in today, you would never miss electricity because you never had it. I think players today don't miss some of the complexities about fighting games because they never had them.
That's fair to say. Like, you can't, like, that's very fair to say, because some people, when you haven't played other games or have the experience, you wouldn't know what you missed out
The
on.
more complex, the more in-depth, the more hardcore a game, the more enjoyable for me.
And I think, Tom, you're being a little, you're not to go all the way.
No, I'm just being over
Well,
dramatic.
let me finish your argument for you.
I'm just being over dramatic. Of
same,
course.
well, it's not even. I think you should be more dramatic. It's the fact that.
Oh my God!
Yes,
I went to the apocalypse, Krim. He said more dramatic.
it's the fact that players like you and I will never beat Ninja Killer and Sonic up close ever in our lives. I mean, we can live.
Yeah, with that mentality, you guys.
Yeah, we can live for 500 years. We will not beat him up close. But if that one strategy is allowed, where we can zone and play defensively, we may have a chance. But
I mean, I don't care about having a chance or not.
No, but it is about that. It really is.
Let me say it a little better. It's not about saying, "Oh, I want a chance to beat Sonic or Ninja Killer." It's that it's like normally fighting games. It's like there are always different things that cater to different skill sets, and just sometimes the other guy's better, right? Hey, you're doing what suits your skill set, and they're doing what suits theirs, and they're just better, and they beat you, right? And you can accept that, right? Look, just in general, you can accept that kind of stuff, right? I'm not trying to say if things were a little more opened up as far as like archetypes and stuff that Sonic and Ninja wouldn't be the best, or that I'd be beating them. I'm not saying that at all, nor do I think that. But you have an easier time accepting that. It's like, hey, look, I'm going to play how I play. You're going to play how you play, and whatever. But it's kind of like, no. It'd be like in UFC, if you're fighting a grappler and you're a striker and they say striking is banned. You're like, why? I'm a striker. He's a grappler. I got that, but you can't have strike. It's like trying to beat somebody in a game of basketball, but you ban 3-pointers, and that's how you adapt to them. That's how I feel like MK11 is, right? We're going to adapt to this by just removing it from the game. And like I said, the game is still good, and and I still enjoy it. And I don't think it's this scrubby game or this whatever game that people make it out to be, or has all these problems. And God, I think it's a very good game, and there's a lot of enjoyment to be had, especially now with customs. They opened up the game to a ton of possibilities, which are awesome. But it's still look, Sub-Zero. You cannot get Sub-Zero is the example of minimal possible effort for the absolute maximum reward. Effortless 50, 60% combos. Anybody today can pick him up and in a day or two be highly effective. It's just that is Mortal Kombat 11. And people could say, well, why don't you pick up this character and be effective? Show us how it's done. Pick up all these other characters. A lot of the game, I think, is very universal. A lot of the characters, while different, still play the same in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like I said, the more complex, the more hardcore, the more enjoyable the game is for me. Now, some people can look at some of these games and say, well, Tom, this is broken. That's broken. That's broken. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But it was also more complex at the same. Two things can be true. Mortal Kombat can be kind of like whatever and still be a very high-level game, a very good game. The same way these other games could be quote-unquote broken, but still complex on a different level as well. And I'm not trying to say these games should be around today or whatever. what I don't know. Maximilian has a big rant about this where he talks about people saying, well, more accessible, yada yada yada. What makes it more accessible isn't easier mechanics. It's more characters, more stages, better music. I think developers kind of got lost in some of this. We have to make things a little more universal, a little easier to grasp when people will buy our game. I promise you, casuals never get that far. All they care about is what the graphics look like, how many characters in there in the game, yada, yada, yada. Things like that. You don't need to. But again, like I said, I don't think MK11 is a casual game. I just think it's just not as complex as I was hoping it to be, although it's still very good and very enjoyable.
Well, here's a hot take. People hate everything. I don't care what you
Absolutely.
do. 30% of the community is going to hate it for sure. Like, when you talk about, like, the absolute best players, right? Like, how people are saying, well, if I could play like this, I have a chance against Sonic Fox.
100%, yep.
Do not forget, Sonic Fox has played some of the lamest characters of all time. You don't get lamer than Captain Cold. That playstyle was the lamest of the lame. It was
Or his dead shot.
Exactly. You can't get in. You can't touch me. Right? I'm gonna sit here and frustrate you, and maybe time you out, and you're not gonna be able to do it.
Okay, that's okay. But I don't want to. I'll say this take for off the whatever. But I agree with you. Yes, he's very talented. He's won many ways. Him, Ninja Killer, Tweety, Noxus. These guys can win 1,000 different ways.
Here's the thing. It wasn't just that they did it. It's that people are also like, I hate this. I don't like to play against this. Take this out of the game, right? So they take it out of the game. And everyone says, what's going on? Where is Captain Cold, right? Why can't I be lame? Where's all the lame stuff? You know what I mean? So it's like, I guarantee you 100%, no matter which direction you go in, there's going to be half of the community is going to be trying to pull you the other way.
But ironically, when he played pre-patch MKX Tom Brady Sub-Zero, he was bitching like a little bitch about.
Oh my god!
He was. I don't care. I don't care at all. He was bitching so bad. Tom put me on the call, and he was still crying about the ice clone. That's again, you can call me a bad guy. Call me the bitchy of the NRS community. You can call me a bad guy, but those are the facts. Like, you have to talk about the facts, and the fact that he was crying about that type of gameplay. So obviously there is some truth to the fact that he hits games or moves that slow down the gameplay. Tom?
I mean, everybody out there has one play style they don't like playing against.
The point is, if certain people like Tom pointed out,
I see what you're saying, but it's
these guys can win a multitude of ways.
So when people like Tom pointed out, they suck. When people like Sonic Fox pointed out, then it's okay, whatever. It's not a big deal.
It just depends what people overly like, man. Like, zoning just is not accepted as a strategy that many seek to have in a fighting game. What else can I say?
Well, I know.
People rather see a game with offense and mix-ups than see a game with zoning.
You could take 100 people right now in our community and say, I'll tell you what, you write down what you want in a game. And we could take that and make them exactly the game they wanted.
MK11 is literally the game that everybody wanted, though. MK11 is that, though. MK11 is a perfect example. It's the game everybody wanted.
Tweety has the greatest quote of all time. He once told Cherney, even if they made it a game in MK11 in which you could pick your character, and as soon as the round started, their character exploded and you won, you would still complain about it. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, they'd be like, this isn't just fun.
Even if you give them everything that they ask for, they'll still complain about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Cowboy, do you have stuff to add to this topic? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, dude, we've been playing games, MK games the same amount of time. Yeah, it's definitely true. There's always going to be discontent. And having said that, I don't think that means that, you should just not listen to anything, but it's never going away. Yeah, you're 100% right, Crimson, that people are always going to be mad.
I mean,
it's fighting games, really.
You guys remember when Injustice came out? I mean, a lot of people forget or they weren't here, but people were livid. They were like, what is this? It doesn't play like MK. make NRS games great again. Like bring MK back. You know,
Injustice. I
yeah.
remember those
There are
things.
all these people like, yeah, you know, Injustice stuff is cool, but you know, I'm just waiting for MKX when they bring the real games back and the
Yep.
footsies.
And
But
then MKX comes. When's Injustice
exactly.
2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot
So
take though. I never like Injustice like that.
Well,
Yeah.
Cowboy, what is your opinion as far not necessarily opinion? I think that's the wrong word. As far as going forward, what
Yeah.
do you expect? Not like necessarily what they want, what you want to be changed, but how far do you see yourself just kind of like with a casually, competitively enjoying the game?
Yeah.
And maybe kind of like what are you kind of hoping maybe gets changed or maybe something that's going to stay the same? That
In
kind of
terms of balance changes, you mean? Or
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think in terms of balance, there's characters that could be toned down. Like, still probably Cedrion, for sure. Joker, I have no idea why he has that mid and why he's had it for a year or however long he's been out.
You mean forward
That
one
shit is just silly. Yeah,
because of
like,
the
that makes no sense.
because of this join the hitbox?
And just the fact that it's so fast and it's a mid and it leads to his offense. Like, I don't understand. That is really oppressive. I don't get why Joker is just left the way he is. Jackie could use a little more toning too. I think she just has too goddamn many staggers and some would leave her plus. But yeah, in terms of mechanics, I don't think there's much that should change. I mean, this is going to be a smoking hot take, but I don't think the anti-air thing is that bad. It's fine. Deal with it. It's fine. So that's okay. Flawless blocking might be a little OD. Especially fucks with zoners, I think. So that could be something
Because
that's like
are
that.
you talking about the fact that you can like kind of on the offensive and you can steal your turn and get the
Yeah.
launcher? Yeah.
Like, it's really dumb. And
Kinda like
you know,
you can kind of use it like almost as a quote unquote high skilled armor attack. And I kind of
Right.
I started recently using it more as rain because
Yeah.
it's got a great reversal up too. You can kind of like I
Yeah.
don't know do back
Mhm.
1, 2, and then
Totally.
kind of like buffer that attack. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. There's actually two of the big mechanics in MK11 that I think were misses. It's a breakaway and yeah, reversal or flawless blocking things. I think it's the problem where like some characters just aren't affected, right? Like it really doesn't matter that you can flawless block a lot of characters, and with breakaway, some characters don't care because they can just kill you on the ground, right? But then there's characters that absolutely devastates, and that I think is why they're flawed mechanics. It just like there's just no downside for some characters at all, and other characters get ripped apart by it. So yeah, if they're not going to change that, like MK11 is what it is, but if they could tweak it in some way, that'd be nice. 'Cause I just think the mechanic leads to imbalance just by its nature. But no, I don't expect much will change, nor should much change. I think it's pretty good. Just a few things here and there. Because yeah, I like playing it. I mean, I think I'm one of the only ones now, Dave, from our old group that really still plays.
No, I beg to differ. With all the respect, I think playing to win got back to it again
Okay.
because yeah, he did. He still plays.
Okay.
You talk about I don't know if you want to consider King our age, but he's definitely like still grinding. He still plays. It's definitely
It
me.
doesn't seem like he
you.
plays as much though.
Yeah, he
man.
doesn't. But I don't know how
Mhm.
much of
I'm
a
gonna-
passion is left. But go ahead.
I definitely want to compete in the Pro Series, or at least try. It'd be fun.
I respect you as a player a lot. I think you're definitely better than I've ever been. But I kind of question whether the game favors the kind of style that we want to play.
Doesn't matter.
Because I think it does matter. Because if you can play your style, I think you're one of the best in the world. If you can't, you're probably just mid-tier. With all due respect, that's just the way I see it.
No, it's possible. I mean, look at MKX, dude. Like that game was all offensive, and
I
one of
know,
the best
but
players
you
in the
could
world was
play
Shinnok.
with 3-pad Shinnok. You could play a very strong zoning game.
Zoning is not what made him good. It was the
I know, I
offense.
understand, but it was like a compliment. It was complimentary,
Yeah.
to the gameplay that you wanted to play. And seeing who, you play my Tremor. It was slowed the game down with the armor, and then
Right.
I could.
I mean, it was broke, but yeah.
Yeah, it was broke, obviously, but I don't see stuff like that in this game. Not in terms of like the brokenness, but in terms of like you can't play your game the way you want to play. At least not with Shang Tsung.
It doesn't matter. Like just countless examples of people being successful by modifying their playstyle. Like, I mean, 16-bit. Look at her. She was, like a zoning fool in MK9 for sure. And then, I mean, Catwoman literally didn't have a projectile, and she was one of the best players in the world.
She was a
So it's
special
possible.
player. Yeah, she was more about which character she likes, and she was kind of.
Well, not even just that. I mean, yeah, she could that was a total playstyle change. And I don't think I have to do a total playstyle change, honestly. Like, I can enough people are bad against Shang and zoning that I can make some of that work, and then I can get better at my offense too. So I don't think it's a big deal.
Have you thought about switching some of the variation? I was watching a Rufal manga video talking about how maybe the I don't even know the move because it's so barely used. It's the move that's not the ground eruption, the other one.
Dude, Shang's moves are have you looked at them? They're so fucking terrible. Most of them, his customs, absolutely unusable.
This is not the customs. It's the regular move.
Which one?
Without the ground eruption. It's the down back one, but without.
The comets.
Yeah, like the comet. Yeah, maybe think about using that instead.
Definitely. I need to play more with that. Right now, I'm still using mostly sparks, but I think there's matchups where it's going to be a lot better. Like, I'm thinking particularly like Liu Kang and Jackie, because they can't destroy you for using them like they can sparks. I definitely want to look more into that. I do think probably overall though, the sparks are still better.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's too hard to lose them in a lot of matchups.
But if you're playing like Fujin who can punish it anyway, like Geras, you might as well try something different, right?
Yeah, I actually don't. I think this actually might be worse. They're too damn. It's weird. They're both 15 frames, the sparks and the crashing flames, but the crashing flames I think are slower because they have to come from the sky. The sparks just come out of the ground.
True.
Right. So I think there might be a couple matchups to play with in that. But man, let's be honest here. Most of the community is bad. Even in MK11 is bad against zoning. Even more of the community is bad against Shang. So I'm not worried. I think I could have a chance to place.
I think people who can flawless block the second hit of the ground eruption consistently, I think those are the matchups he almost certainly loses. I just don't see how because his offense is good enough to make up for that. I remember playing Master D with, and he will flawless block it every single time with the Jackie. It's like, I don't know what to do. I literally don't know what to do. Like, he flawless blocks it, dash punch to the face. He's just going to get in, and I just.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie's the one where I might use the crashing flame. She can't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I'm optimistic about it. I know I can adapt. I think part of the thing, too, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this, the level of our player base is much higher than it used to be.
Oh yeah, 100%. Some people are delusional about that, like from our old, the old age group. But for sure, people have leveled up so high, it's difficult to conceive for sure.
Like even comparing, I used to be a ranked warrior in MK9 before I was top. I did not meet nearly as many people who are good in ranked MK9 as I do in this game. It's just, the skill level, the ceiling is going up. So you just got to adapt and move up with it.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Well,
it makes me better ultimately.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, we're about over an hour in. I'm going to give you the last word, WoundCowboy.
Okay.
What's your last word? What do you have to say about MK11 or any other topic that you would like to voice your opinion on? Go right ahead.
Damn. Buff Shang? I think we can all agree with that.
I wouldn't expect anything else from you.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
All right. Well, with that said, I want to thank my co-hosts Crimson, Rio, Tom Brady for being on the podcast, and I certainly want to thank WoundCowboy. Don't forget, guys, the original in the modern MK era, the original Shang Tsung Master, also the Sinestro Master, and also the Shinnok Master.
That's right.
Who did it before all of you even knew who he was. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very happy to have you. With that said, thank you guys for listening, and thank you so much. We will see you on the next episode of the podcast.